All right, you pod listeners, you joy riders, we are riding our way to the recovery hacks of 2024. Yes, we have been taking a deep dive into biohacking this year, and we thought it was time for an update on our recovery pod. So we're gonna hit 5 awesome recovery hacks this week and another 5 next week. And you will not want to miss not only the 5 hot tips you've got this week, but also an interview with one of the founders of one of our supplements we are in love with. Spoiler alert, it's on the shelf.
You're tuned in now to this pickleball life. I'm Ketones and Jilly is my wife. She's the pro and I've got the filler. She's sweet to me, but on the court she's a killer. Unadulterated and efficiently bringing you the best and worst things in PB. Tell your friends and stay for another. And no one loves us more than your mother. One thing's for sure, one hit and you're addicted. Grab a pile, grab a court, don't resist it. So click subscribe, let's go, let's get cracking. Thing song done, let's go, let's get laughing. This pickleball life.
All right, Kristen, it is pod 40, and since I came up with the rhyme, I get to do it this time. It's pod 40, and we are your recovery heroes. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. Kristen, it's been a year.
Since our last pod?
Since our last recovery podcast.
Oh, wow. Has it been exactly a year, or are you just like doing what you do and exaggerating like maybe a year-ish?
It's a year-ish.
Okay, a year-ish. I think it was episode 10 and 11, or 9 and 10. And we are on episode 40.
And we're giving up our golden trade secrets.
40, the average age of pro pickleball players.
If you're a professional
kidding.
pickleball
It's
player,
20.
don't listen to this podcast. There's nothing here for you. You can't have my secrets.
Click away, click away.
Click away.
We really had early success in the pod with our recovery pods. So I feel like this is a fun return of the Jedi, the recovery Jedi.
Also, you are exceptionally funny today and your hair looks exceptionally good. I think you need to drive this pod because let's just catch up for a second. It's been a really rough week.
Okay,
for
spoiler
Jilly.
alert, I'm funny today because of ketone.
That's true. We're going to talk about that later. How come I don't get funny when I take ketone?
The delicious mix of ketone and rainstorm equals
Unbeatable
KW humor.
combination. It's been a rough week, you guys, for Jilly B. For those of you not watching on YouTube, I am wearing glasses. No, not a new sponsor, although I do love Gooder glasses. I have a sty in my eye.
No, she was not struck in the eye with a pickleball.
No, just a bright red sty to match my bright red hair that I accidentally dyed. So it's been a rough week. In addition to accidentally dyeing my hair bright red, which now if you're watching on video, you'll get to see.
It's really not that bad. I bet we'll get some comments where people are like, it doesn't even look red. What are you talking about?
Oh, man.
But
Those are men.
Jill has both herself and myself to blame. I was the one with the paintbrush, but she's the one who decided to trust me.
Yeah. In addition to the hair and the sty, we got back from St. George. Thank you to Kelly and Rich for hosting us, where I lost first round in a PPA for the first time ever?
Yeah, I can't recall any offhand that went round 1.
Some crazy wind in mixed doubles day. Played with Martin Emmerich. We lost first round to really good qualifiers. They played great. The wind was insane. And as Colin John said later when he was commentating on the broadcast, because he didn't play mix, he said it's a great neutralizing effect. And so it's a really good lesson for me that you've got to... or a great equalizing effect, he said. The wind's the great equalizer. That if it's windy, boy, your returns better be good. Your serves better be in.
Yeah.
You better have a really good, not quite a drive, not quite a drop, that drip in between. There's just really like high percentage stuff. Because if you miss 3 or 4 returns in a windy game, which is so feasible.
Yes.
And your partner misses a couple, that's 5 to 6 points. That's 60% of a game gone.
Out the window. Yeah, in golf, the wind just exacerbates any kind of mishit.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, in pickleball, the ball is so susceptible because it's a wiffle ball.
Yeah.
That it's tough. It's tough. You're watching it till the very last second it hits your paddle.
So my advice for playing in the wind, don't do it. I'm just kidding.
Withdraw.
Withdraw. No, shore up your fundamentals. That would be my advice. But no, I actually feel like I'm playing well, feel good, excited for the next couple weeks. We've got a really crazy 3 weeks ahead. Cincinnati for an APP, playing with Benny New and Emily Ackerman. Atlanta, Alex Trong, super fiery, let's go. And CJ Klinger, cannot wait to play with lefty CJ. And then New York with Andre Daescu, which is an APP major.
It's funny. Do you think it's going to be a rude awakening playing with Andre where you have to go back to the right side?
Nobody puts baby on the right side.
Like, oh God, what do I do over here again? It's been a minute.
Your parents came to town.
We did. We had a lot of parental visit. They went to St. George first, and then they came back and visited here for a few days. And it was good to take the full arc of like, yay, good to see you, my parents, and then like me being a jerk to them for 3 days, and then me adjusting back to like being compassionate towards my parents again. Gratitude is the attitude, patience.
Kristen is verbally abusive to her parents. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah, you abuse the ones you love. What can I say?
No, Kristen's, this is how
I am their alpha.
I was just going to say, so Kristen is an alpha at all times unless there's a bigger alpha.
If you meet me and I'm really patient and really nice to you, it's highly likely that I don't respect you as much.
No,
I'm just kidding. I can be nice. But, you know.
People think I'm the jerk. You are definitely way more the jerk.
Totally. There's no question.
I'm like, I can't believe she just said that. If I said that, I'd be canceled.
Give an example.
I'd be canceled.
I think our listeners are going to be curious. Like, what kind of a jerk am I? What was the rudest thing?
Dad, how could you think in a million years that was a good idea? Dad, how could you leave your phone at the restaurant again? Is there something wrong with you?
Speaking of my dad leaving his phone, my dad played pickleball after dinner one night, and the previous night he went, and we were like, okay, I guess there are lights on in the courts. Oh, okay, I guess now it's 8. Okay, I guess now it's 9. My mom was like, I mean, is he been abducted? Is he having an affair called pickleball? How long do these lights stay on? My dad looked at his like PEDS tracker on his watch, phone, whatever.
We have 17,000 steps.
7.8 miles of pickleball.
Was this the night that we went out to a nice dinner?
That was the night before.
Changed
you were
in
gone.
the car afterwards at 8 p.m. to go play pickleball.
He was like, all right, guys, I paid for the check. You guys are on your own from here. I'm going to pickleball.
Oh my gosh.
He was looking for another run-in with Woody Harrelson. So enough to do. I think we gotta get going.
No,
we have so much.
I cannot believe you're not going to tell the story about your mom and church.
Oh, this one's pretty good. So my mom is a huge fan of thrift shopping and consignment shopping. So whenever she goes anywhere, she's got to hit up all the hot spots, all the angel views. And she has like favorite ones and least favorite ones. She's at her like, I'll handle it. It's okay. But it's not my favorite angel view. But it was close to where she was going to church. She does the like night mass on Saturdays. But my dad was like doing some other errand, and she is in the trying room, and this lady just sort of appears out of nowhere to give her opinions on all of my mom's outfits, and they get chatting. And so of course pickleball comes up. And so naturally my mom asks if she knows Jilly B and K Dubs. And of course it turns
yes.
out yes. So thank you to Chris Young, who not only helped my mom pick out all her new thrift shop golden finds, but gave her a ride to church.
I love that your mom asked a stranger for a ride to church.
Yeah, that's where I get my trusting nature.
I love that.
My mom, who grew up in New York City, knows how to pick 'em.
I have 2 more quick catching ups. I had my first ever pickleball lesson, you guys. That's
Wow.
right. Coaches need coaches. Great coaches need great coaches. I think what I love more than anything about life is you learn. You never stop learning.
You lose, you learn.
You lose, you learn.
Role reversal.
I thought you were supposed to like help me once you knew I was
Oh,
starting to
okay.
sing.
I'll
You were
harmonize
supposed to get
next
in there.
time.
Okay, thanks.
You lose, you learn, you lose, you learn.
For those of you listening, you can guess which one was Jilly B and which one was K Dubs.
Thank you. Thank you.
I took a lesson with Scott Crandall. He's in Southern California, recently moved from the LA area to the Orange County area. And obviously I go back and forth a lot to Newport Beach. And yeah, we had an awesome lesson. I can't believe actually how much I learned and picked up. And maybe on the next pod, when Kristen's not rushing me to wrap up the catching up, I'll reveal some of those lessons, because I think they were really, really mind-blowing.
I like that. Keep it as a teaser. Yeah. Got to tune in.
All right. Yeah.
Speaking of an ongoing storyline, Paddle Quest.
Yes.
How's the Paddle Quest?
Yes, I did. I finally tried. I tried the Gearbox Pro. Thank you, Gearbox, for sending it to me. And I tried the Gen 3 Yola. My friend Kyron was playing it. I said, how long have you had that? He said, just a couple weeks. I said, perfect. So I tried that. Gamma has sent me...
Wait, a couple weeks. Doesn't that thing change in like 30 minutes?
Anyway, Gamma sent me a couple beautiful, super thin-bodied obsidians. So this is the RCF Obsidian 10 and 13. So I haven't tried these yet. As you can see, they are in the case. I'm really excited to try those, and I'm really excited to try their Airbender. I don't know if you guys have seen that or heard of that, but apparently it hits really hard, and it has the open throat, and they've spent a year. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Toby. For those of you not watching, Toby is soaking wet. He fell in our pool.
Oh, I feel so bad we didn't go get him. Let's get a towel.
Wow. That was an eventful few minutes.
Oh man, for those of you that are not on video, our beautiful tiny orange tabby Toby just came in and jumped on Kristen's lap, soaking wet head to toe.
Yeah, he survived it, and he's alive, and he's breathing, and he has a house, and he has food. He's going to be okay.
Oh, I put him in a towel, and he was shaking in my arms.
We wrapped him up like a hot tortilla.
Oh.
This is the 3rd time, in fairness, that he has taken a dip, and he is very curious about water, so not entirely shocking. But now we know. He's survived it 3 times without help. I feel actually good about it.
I don't even remember where we were.
We were sitting right here. What do you mean?
Catching up. No, in the podcast.
Yeah, my seat's still wet.
I want to thank everyone who dropped in the comments paddles they want me to try on my Sega Genesis PS2 Paddle Quest. Paddle Quest is still ongoing. I am reading all of your comments. I'm getting sent paddles every day. So don't go anywhere, because we're going to have more updates on all things paddles through the course of the next podcast. So let's go. Let's find that paddle, K-Dubs.
Are you gonna find
if
your
I find
wand?
a paddle I like, are you going to play it?
As long as they pay you 0.5 more to put that label on my hat. Let's go. I can be bought.
Sponsorable right here. K-Dubs PB.
Heck, I'll tattoo it on my forehead for the right price.
We had one more quick catching up. We found a house with a tennis court. For those of you who haven't listened to the past few podcasts, we are looking to move. As much as we love our home in Indian Wells, we're looking in Rancho Mirage for anything big enough to accommodate a tennis court or a pickleball court. And we found a house with a tennis court.
We did. Might be the one. Might not be the one.
I don't think it's the right one. So the search continues.
Yes. House Quest.
House Quest. You are on fire. Let's get into our top 5.
Did you mention your female partner for New York?
Regina Goldberg.
Okay.
So first time partnership.
And yeah, it's MLP week. How do you feel not being at MLP? Right on the heels of you being named the most influential player on Real Clear Stats from the
It was
last season of Challenger.
yeah, it was overall women. They ranked from last year all their every event. So they ranked the I don't know.
It's like an impact.
Five players with the most player impact. So yeah, I was first with plus 1.30, then Bobby Oshiro at 1.26. Ava Rodzikowska 1.1, Megan Fudge 1.04, and Tina Pisnik 1.02. And the way they do that is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by Real Clear Stats.
So here's how they rank the players. For those of us who are as into this stuff as I am, they say player impact defined. Player impact measures each individual's direct impact on the scoreboard based on rally ending shots. Each game, players receive +1 for winners, plus 0.75 for errors they forced, 0.25 for forced errors, and -1 for unforced errors. These numbers are then averaged and normalized for fair comparisons across all players. So how do I feel? I think I feel excited for it. Like I want to watch it. We did draft grades. I want to see if we were right. So I know I'm excited to be a fan. And then,
yeah, in case you guys don't know, there will be some teams who don't compete every MLP except the playoffs. Well, I guess including the playoffs because you have to qualify. So no event, as far as I know. Actually, there's one event, the Beer City event will be every team, but every other event I think will be a selection of teams. So there'll always be a few teams who get a rest week.
Friendly reminder, if you're listening, pump that subscribe button on YouTube.
Always a good reminder. Yeah, should we pivot now to our theme of the day?
It's the theme of the day.
Yes.
Recovery 3.0. What are we calling this?
2024 top recovery hacks.
Updated.
All right.
Continued.
So number 1 for our recovery and performance optimization hacks.
And these numbers are just first, second, third. They're not actually in order of importance.
Correct. Thank you. And before we get into it, I am not a nutritionist. I am not a doctor. I know this whole time.
What?
I know this whole time you thought I was a doctor. I know.
Well, you are my nutritionist. So
I am. I do make all the food in the house at all times. So obviously you got to do you. Whatever works for your body. These are the performance optimization hacks that work for my body, which is Kristen's body, because everything that goes in my mouth usually also goes in her mouth.
Oh, I thought you were going a different direction with that, but yeah.
All right. So number 1, I did not believe this, even though I heard it from so many people. Protein intake. So most studies suggest 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Wow, that's hard. Like, how do you ever get there? So I aim for 100 grams of protein, and if I hit 80, I'm happy. So I'm shooting for 100. And the cleanest source of protein that I have found, and trust me, I've looked everywhere, is Paleo Valley. And, I'm not going to get into on this podcast animal-based protein versus vegetable or vegetarian-based proteins. You got to do what's right for you. For me, I'm using primarily animal-based proteins. And what I love about Paleo Valley is founded by a husband and wife in San Diego. She suffered from awful digestive issues since she was a teenager. And then they went and basically started this company and took matters into their own hands to essentially eliminate all refined processed foods. They shopped at local farmers markets, ate fresh fruits and vegetables, grass-fed meats, wild seafood, and then all of her irritable bowel syndrome, it had been completely resolved. So they quit their jobs and they started Paleo Valley. And what I love about the grass-fed bone broth protein powder from Paleo Valley, which is basically all collagen, is it's not from animal hides. So everyone knows that really popular brand, Vital Proteins, like the blue one. You've seen it, Kristen, in the store.
Oh, yeah.
So that's from animal hides. And a
hooves,
lot of them,
right?
Yeah, a lot of them do hooves and hides, or just hooves.
I can't believe that's not a brand name.
Hooves and hides. Chris and I have this running joke with like 2 words put together.
With the ampersand. It can't be A-N-D. It has to be an ampersand. Ampersand?
Canyon to coast. hooves to hides.
Cups to plates. Cups and plates.
So what Paleo Valley does is it's actually totally grass-fed, grass-finished cow bones, bone broth protein powder. So that's what I take for collagen and my protein. And that website, they sell so many other amazing things we eat and take, like grass-fed beef sticks.
Yeah, I love the beef sticks.
Talk to me about the beef sticks.
I just keep wondering if we're going to look back at this era in our life and be like, oh, those years you played pro pickleball? No, it's the beef stick era. Like, will it last forever? But it does make sense. I mean, they're highly portable. They're not needed to be refrigerated.
Yep.
They taste great. They're salty. They're protein.
They fill you up. Like there's good
They do.
calories.
They really like cut the hunger when you need that.
Like I can be starving, and if I have a handful of macadamia nuts and one beef stick, I'm good. I'm good for like 3 to 4 hours.
Totally. I mean, I always look back on diet trends and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe there was a time people thought that like fat-free was a good idea.
Totally.
And now it's like all about the good fats. And I'm just glad that we're not living in that era anymore.
I know. We've got, at Paleo Valley, they've got organic super greens, blends, they've got bars. They have something I am about to start taking, which is Organ Complex. So it's a pill. It's exactly what it sounds like. Grass-fed, grass-finished organs of the cow.
Yeah, organs are extra high in nutrients, right? It's where all the like vitamins and minerals end up in an animal. Is that why that's so important?
It's all the good stuff, exactly. Loaded with nutrients. So they do...
Hearts and livers.
Yep. Oh, they have olive oil. They have coffee. So anyway, yeah, check out Paleo Valley. And we are going to put discount links and codes in the podcast notes. Or you could go to my website.
So as I said, one of the greatest things about the beef sticks is saltiness, which segues perfectly into our next hack. Salt. Year of salt.
Oh my gosh. Every morning I wake up and I have a huge glass of water with either Redmond's Relight electrolyte solution or just Redmond's mineralized salt. Literally, I just take a teaspoon of salt. I also still like liquid IV every now and then if I want sugar. It has sugar in it. But just waking up in the morning and having a glass of salt water is... It's kind of life-changing, to be totally honest.
Does that have anything to do with like growing up at the beach and the ocean waves? Not in like a joke way, but like didn't someone recently explain why ocean water is like has a calming effect and that's why surfers are always so chill?
Interesting.
Were you not there for that? I can't remember where I heard that.
I don't know.
But there's something about your body getting salt on its skin all the time that has a natural calming effect. And like, who's met a type A high-strung surfer?
You know, I follow Dr. Joe Saladino, whose name kind of sounds like salt. Just saying.
Well, Saladino is Italian, and in Italian, what is
super
salt?
salty.
But salt is salt, right? So it really is salt.
It really is. And he talks a ton about the benefits of salt, drinking salt water in the morning.
Is he the one that did that great video about how to pack food for an airplane?
Yes.
He has like
He is.
4 burger patties in a Tupperware jar.
One thing I've learned is because we've been, farming on our soil for 70, 80, 90 years, it's depleted of a lot of supernatural minerals that used to be in our soil.
Oh my God, I could go on a tangent for an hour just on farming and how depleted everything is because we try and optimize to the nth degree.
So what I love about Redmond's is all of their products come with like a real salt analysis. Like literally. So in their Redmond's real salt, they have 60 plus trace minerals. So it makes it super flavorful. It does not taste like normal salt. It makes it really healthy. They sell clay. This company, Redmond, sells toothpaste.
That's interesting. We were watching another nature documentary where they talked about how the animals end up like drinking in the clay water because of salt. Like it's their natural electrolytes.
Oh, they sell salt
It all
crystals.
comes full circle back to the Serengeti.
Yeah, so big believer in salt and all of its benefits. And it's funny, the more this year I've gotten into health and nutrition, the more these like Dr. Joe Soladinos are like, everything the government has ever told you about health, do the exact opposite.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Don't
Yeah.
eat fat, eat fat. Don't eat salt, eat salt.
It does make you wonder, who are they protecting? What is their goal? Like, is it really in their best interest for us to all be the healthiest we can be and not need the healthcare system?
All right, we're going to get into our third Armra colostrum. If your Instagram looks anything like mine, it's just recurring ads for Armra colostrum. And you know how the ads are always like sold out again, sold again. They actually do truly sell out. They cannot keep up with demand. So colostrum is exactly what you think it is. It's the pre-breast milk. Not of humans. They're not selling human colostrum yet. I'm sure that'll be the next recovery podcast.
I'm sure someone sells it. Yeah.
No, this is from cows. And what's so crazy about this powdered colostrum, I take it, I put it under my tongue. Apparently that's how the founder of the company does it, but you can mix it in with water. What's so crazy about it is I have not been sick since I started taking this 90 days ago. And we have flown cross country twice. After a tournament, 3 a.m. we had to wake up. Our flight was at 4:30. I would 9.9 out of 10 times get sick coming home from a tournament like that. And I just like don't get sick anymore.
That's awesome. I hope that wasn't a knock on wood
I know.
moment.
I know.
But totally. It is, again, we get into this in a minute with our interview that we're about to show, but the things you don't see when you don't get sick and you don't lose sleep and you don't feel bad, you know, we forget that normal is a gift. And what that came from often is all of these recovery hacks.
It's amazing.
Sleep, as we talked about in the original pod.
And what's cool about Armra is it brings together technology and superfood science because they patented kind of the way to harness it, which is this proprietary cold chain biopatent tech. And it was founded by Dr. Sarah Rawl, double board certified pediatric neurologist with an expertise in environmental and functional medicine.
Wow.
The Armra that I take is the performance one, which they just came out with. So they have the immunity one, but then they made performance, which has like all the benefits of the immunity, but is specifically for muscle performance and
cool.
like optimizing your performance in athletics.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So clinical results, 87% of people experience faster fitness recovery, 83% report improvements in performance stamina, and 80% experience improvements in strength and endurance. So strengthen, recover, cellular fuel. Love this stuff.
What would you suggest to our listeners who might want to start dabbling in supplements with how quickly to add 1 or 2 or 5 to their routine, and how much should they keep the variables kind of predictable or trackable so that they know what's affecting them and how?
Such a good question. Like I've been buying or sent so many supplements. Like we've distilled this into, let's see, we have 10. 7 of these are actual supplements. 3 are more like habits, right? It's been a year and I've introduced 7, right?
10. Oh, because 7 supplements versus
7 supplements, and there's probably
most of them are
3 that I've
devices in our
tried.
last.
And so my point is, I've probably tried 10 in the past year, stuck with 7, cut 3, and so what is that? 1 a month?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So that would be my advice. Like, listen to your body first and foremost. And for me, it was like once a month introducing something new.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to isolate sometimes, like, how do I feel, why I feel? Mm-hmm. Like, for example, the other night, I may or may not have ingested flea medicine, and my tongue was numb.
We put flea medicine on the cats.
I got home from dinner, and I was like, what did I eat that is giving me weird jitters and a numb tongue? And then we figured out I got it from the cat medicine. Fun night.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then this last one, it's not supposed to be controversial, but I'm sure it will be. Yeah.
Controversial, not so much contentious is what I would say.
Oh, contentious. All right, you explain it.
It's one that instills a lot of opinions and defensiveness. And that is sobriety.
Yeah, this really pokes people's buttons, but I've been
I think
sober for 3 months.
I think I will say there's never been a more on-trend time in our history to consciously uncouple from alcohol.
Interesting.
Like, we went through the prohibition where people had it ripped from their hands, and we were like, okay, that's not going to work. And then there was kind of an overcompensation era where you see like the Mad Men 2 martini lunch.
Yeah.
And now people are like, oh, wow, I do feel better not having 2 martinis at lunch, maybe having 2 martinis a month. And I have done the like light version of not drinking, where I've been on a NA quest, finding the best non-alcoholic beers just to sort of give myself something to drink without it feeling like not doing anything.
Yeah,
I think
why
so much
not?
of
Why not get
drinking
that?
is like,
12 ounces of just pure gluten.
that,
down,
overpriced, non-alcoholic
can of gluten. Perfect.
Exactly.
Non-alcoholic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not optimizing my performance for the same intense reasons as you. But it's been amazing, honestly, how like seamless it was for you.
Well, I was going to talk about.
Hardest part?
I was going to talk about how I feel, but I'm more curious. What did the changes look like from your end? You're the one who's seen me every day for 9 years.
Right. I would say maybe if I'm really looking back, your like mood is
stabler, less bitchy.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that you had like a mood swing problem, but you seemed very at peace. But it's hard to separate the non-drinking from the Joe Dispenza becoming supernatural. Like, you have taken on a whole new personality.
Yeah.
Like an addition, not like you are no longer your old self, but a new outlook on how to react to things in general, and a lot of sort of looking within. And I've really enjoyed you kind of getting on my level, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like I would definitely feel after a crazy day like I need a beer, right? And then you said something to me that was really interesting. You were like, I never feel that way. Like, alcohol to you isn't like an I need, right?
Yeah, it's definitely, I fall victim to a lot of the like fake traps we all do. Like, oh, I do it because I like the taste, or I'm at an event and that's what you do. When you're at a Mexican place, you get a margarita, or it's 5 o'clock, I get to drink a beer. It's like socially acceptable. My problem is that I have a taste for this very like strong Belgian beer that is
if anyone wants to send Kristen a gift, Lef blonde beer is the gift for my beloved.
Belgians, they really crush it in the ways that they crush it.
I thought it was brewed by abbeys in a monastery.
Belgian monk.
Yeah, Belgian monks.
Yeah. Waffles, chocolate, ice cream, beer.
Just move.
All of my favorite things.
Just go. Just leave right now. Don't even finish the pod.
Yeah. You know who's Belgian? Esther Perel.
Oof, love Esther Perel. Yeah, from my perspective, I think it was not hard at first, but it's like such a habit, right? Like 1 or 2 beers, 5 nights a week. 4 nights a week.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, well, what am I drinking instead?
Yeah.
You already drink so much water. You're just like continuing to chug the water. And sometimes it feels like, oh, it's dinner. I want to drink something.
And I think at day like 70, this crazy thing happened where I stopped visualizing happy scenes that included alcohol. So let me explain. You like imagine being on a beach on vacation, right? Do you imagine like a pina colada by your side or like a margarita?
Yeah, and instead just imagine a headache.
And I now, like, it was really weird. It took like 70 days to stop like romanticizing it And now I can just visualize all of those scenes, all of those different things, having a beautiful like Italian Mediterranean lunch, not needing a sparkling glass of rosé, right? Like it took a while for that like nostalgia of it to go away. And now like, what am I, like 3 months? And I've just like never felt better, more clear-headed, calmer. Like, do not miss it at all. But no, I'm not preaching. You guys do you. Like, everyone I know still drinks. That's great. This is just something that worked for me as a performance hack, but probably more in my head than even my body.
Yeah, I think another moment was we were out to dinner once, and it was like, okay, like we're supposed to be celebrating, so I guess I'll have the glass of champagne with everyone, and you end up doing it because you
did not
don't want to
feel
be
well after.
Weird,
Yeah,
right? And you're like, I didn't need it, I didn't want it, and
didn't feel good.
Why am I being told this?
Yeah.
What was the phrase? Like, no one like castigates you for not drinking milk, right? No one's like, I can't believe you don't drink 7-Up. What's wrong with you? Why don't you drink milk? But people are somehow threatened by the whole why you drink or not.
Yeah.
So enough about that. I think everyone knows that, drinking is dehydrating and causes alterations in sleep and general energy.
I just wanted to go off it to be the best pickleball player I could be. But I didn't think there'd be like the mental benefits that I've incurred.
But in a very like visceral way, your recovery has been so much easier the next day.
Oh, totally. You're not dehydrated.
Yeah. And hydration is always the day before anyway, right? So on to our main event, number 5.
We both had this today. Ketone IQ. If you guys ever saw that movie with Bradley Cooper called Limitless, Ketone IQ to us is basically the limitless pill.
Absolutely. It is a performance enhancing everything. It is not only hydrating, it is increasing in your metabolism, your focus, your endurance. Super duper popular with Tour de France riders.
They say 80% of the peloton is on this.
I think the Ironman champion is one of their big proponents. So you might be wondering, okay, endurance athletes, triathlons, what about pickleball says I need ketone IQ?
So basically all the major news sources have called this the next big thing in sports nutrition. The Atlantic said the most incredible surge of positive energy. New York Times innovating on food and the human body. The Times call it the drink of dreams. And then Triathlete Magazine says a new type of endurance fuel. So no one drank Gatorade before there was Gatorade. No one took electrolytes before there was readily available electrolytes. And I think this exact same thing is happening right now for this crazy thing called ketones. And we are so lucky to have the founder of Ketone IQ on this podcast. And that is our guest today.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say quickly, one of my golf students was talking about getting stage fright. She used to be an opera singer and she always suffered from that. Going into a tournament today, I told her, go find Ketone IQ. And she played great.
No
She's
way.
3 strokes off the lead. Yeah, so I'm super excited to see how she felt or what she noticed. But I think
that's what our friends say. They say when I go to the courts and I play like a level up, like if I'm normally a 4-0 and I'm playing with 4-5s, I'm normally nervous, but I take this.
Right.
And that like monkey mind chatter, I don't feel or hear anymore.
Yeah. It's like I told her it's like a homeopathic beta blocker.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way of putting it.
What's cool about it is like a lot of people maybe don't want the jitters of energy drinks, or they don't want to put like, prescription medicines in their body. They just want something to take a little of the edge off and feel like, everything is within their control, their grasp, like focusing on the things they can actually influence. And people who don't want to take
Adderall too.
Right.
It's funny how many doctors that we know, when we've said like, I'm starting to work with Ketone IQ, they're like, I take Ketone IQ.
Yes. For surgery.
Yeah. They go into surgery. They want to be their best selves. They take Ketone IQ.
Yeah. So we've got plenty more for you on this interview. So we hope you enjoy Michael Brandt. So, Michael, you're obviously a very, very smart guy, Stanford grad, a tech leader, a co-founder and CEO of HVMN, which for our listeners stands for Health Via Modern Nutrition. I love that name. And you worked at Google. So tell us, why exactly did you design a product that tastes like, as we discovered, cat piss?
And we have 3 cats, so we know. Okay, Michael?
Well, certainly the goal was to make something effective, and if it has a crazy taste to it, that's more of a after effect. It definitely does have a crazy taste to it. There's no denying it. I got into human performance because I studied computer science in undergrad and got really into biohacking and seeing the human body as a system. And it's really cool what's going on when you have so many people wearing sensors on and in their body, people tracking their sleep, their heart rate variability, their blood glucose levels. Like there's 50 million Americans that have some kind of Apple Watch or Whoop or Aura or something. And a decade ago, I kind of saw this coming. I'm not like the only one in the world that saw it coming, but like kind of early on that wave of seeing it, trying things out, trying like early models of glucose monitors and tracking different sensors and inputs, and seeing basically the API-ification of the human body, which is like a nerdy way. I don't know if people know like computer science a little bit or programming a little bit. It's just like that we're getting a sense of like the inputs and outputs into our body. Like you can see, hey, when I have too much caffeine after noon, I have a lower sleep score. Like, and you're able to like quantifiably know that. So the same way that like when you're working on any kind of technical system, you see like the inputs and the outputs, that we're seeing that happen to the human body, where it's not just like, hey, eat this acai berry, trust me, bro, it's good for you. It's like, have this supplement or have this different diet or have this different routine. And like, you can actually measure, does that work for you? Does having this like special cooling mattress that's 12 degrees cooler than ambient temperature actually affect your sleep score? Like you can actually measure things. And
Totally.
so it's been a really exciting new wave of health, nutrition, wellness, where I'd say like the prior decades were a lot of like marketing and like, hey, this is kind of trendy, superfood, what's this, what's that? And now it's a lot more objective of like, hey, like I can actually measure it myself. I don't have to go to the doctor once a year and get like a once a year blood panel, maybe, if people even do that. It's like I can tell on a constant basis.
Right.
And so like that was like the world.
Real data.
Yeah, it's real data, and that's the world I saw evolving. And then within that, I started looking around at what would be the most interesting that didn't already exist. Right, it'd be really cool to invent protein powder or caffeine if that didn't already exist. I'll pause there for a second, because like that was kind of like what set the stage of like how I got from like technical world into human performance optimization world.
Yeah, and obviously I actually do appreciate the fact that you have not kowtowed to the masses, as I always like to say, where people make things taste too sugary, too sweet, and it's like, let's just admit this is medicine. Like, just swallow it down and don't be worried about the taste. We joke about it tasting kind of funny, but I actually love the fact that it's like, hey, this is something.
Yeah.
And I think that's applaudable. But
yeah, so like, I mean, just to say what it is and like what we even invented there is that like the product is called Ketone IQ, and created a pure ketone drink where like ketones are a form of fuel. Just like sugar is a fuel, sugar has calories, your body can burn it, but sugar also isn't super healthy for you. It spikes your insulin. It's not great for your metabolism to be having too much sugar all the time. Ketones have this really unique set of benefits. It feels really nice when you like just subjectively in your brain when you drink it, and your body makes its own ketones. So a lot of people like a decade ago were doing a keto diet, where you like when you eat low carb, you force your body to make ketones because you're low on blood sugar when you're not eating a lot of carbs, and your body will make ketones as an energy source. And so the insight that I had and with my team was to create a pure drinkable ketone. And then, yeah, to your point, Kristen, like we haven't done a lot on top of it. Like we figured out how to like ferment it and make it at large scale, and we got going with the Department of Defense Special Operations Command, and then elite athletes and Tour de France cyclists and pro pickleballers. Now, like we've gotten kind of out there, and then, but like the cool thing, it's like I think a lot about like what did Gatorade look like in 1967 with the Florida Gators, like before you had like all the different whiz bang flavors and this and that. It's very, very early. Like just getting ketones out there, I think is super interesting. And, we'll evolve and make different flavors and all that. But like, I'm very happy. I'm very proud of like what the team has done so far. Just make like a very pure ketone drink that just tastes crazy, because we haven't done that much to it. And it's just make ketones available to kind of the hardcore people first.
Totally. I mean, it's so fascinating to me that you've somehow harnessed basically the ability of starvation by intaking something. Is that somewhat correct?
Yeah.
That a lot of what ketosis is a lack of eating, and the body going into its best brainwaves. How do you keep someone else from stealing the ketone idea? Are we going to see this like electrolytes where there's a whole new Gatorade ketone all of a sudden?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. As entrepreneurs, like, how do we develop our IP and protect our moat around our brand? And there's a few different levels around that where we've filed patents, and we have a lot of just economies of scale on our manufacturing that are hard to keep up with. I think ultimately you see, when there's Gatorade, there's a Powerade or whatnot. Like there's always a second, third. Like there are other players that are emerging or will emerge, and I think it's a good sign of ecosystem health that like you see other people doing it. It'd be weird if like only one brand made coconut water or protein powder or something. But like I'm also very competitive. Like I'm okay if there's Powerade as long as we're Gatorade. Like it
totally.
Yeah, as long as
very, very unique and in early stage invention here.
Yeah. And one of the things, I think one of our advantages, I would say, is that like that's all we do. Like our product is called Ketone IQ. We don't have a ashwagandha gummy and a creatine Slurpee and a this and that. Like all I do all day is think about Ketone IQ.
Creatine Slurpee.
I mean, you just see a lot of stuff out there. A lot of brands do a lot of things, and like for us, it's very much like the founder of Vital Proteins, who they popularized collagen, the blue tubs everywhere, the number one collagen brand, and like all they did was collagen. Kurt, so he's an investor in my business, and like they very much cut from that cloth of like do one thing really freaking well and just be like really freaking good at that area. Just make one like Gatorade probably has a protein something these days, but like for decades they didn't do like a protein powder, protein bar, anything. Just like do one thing really, really well. And and I think the only way that someone could even compete with us is like if they put all of their brain power onto just ketones, then they would like have a chance. But like if someone's doing like, oh, I have a protein powder and a this and a that and a that, and like and they try to do keto, it's just like so new and crazy and different that like I just don't think you can compete with someone who's like it's like imagine trying to compete with Michael Jordan and you're like playing 3 other sports besides basketball. Like it would be hard.
Totally.
Like if all you did was basketball, it's already hard.
You're going a mile deep and an inch wide, which I love, but I also know as a startup founder and tech entrepreneur how tempting it is to let your mind wander 10 years down the road. So I know you're someone who's seeing where the ball is going. I also know you're super focused on ketone. What next aspect of your business are you looking at? Are you really just tripling down on ketones, or do you see something else, whether it's 6 months, a year, 5 years down the road, that's the next performance optimizer biohack for athletes?
It's a great question. And honestly, Jill, it's like just focus on ketones and like do other things around it, like make like a larger beverage, it tastes really nice, or make something bubbly, or make something, but everything's going to be around Ketone IQ. And it's actually a really good question. I think it's something I've reflected a lot on and reflect a lot with the team on as well, which is like, it is very tempting to look at like the next thing, but it's like, I don't know, it's like make the first $1 billion first, like make the first like really interesting thing first. And then you have a lot of optionality to go do a lot else. On day one of starting the business, I didn't know I wanted to do ketones. So I was very much like trying different stuff out, launching different things, experimenting. And it took like a couple of different shots on goal to land on Ketone IQ. And then now that we're there, we're actually just like consolidating down. Like everything we do is Ketone IQ. And that's really like what the vision is. So many of the best brands, they just like do like Hoka just
Stay
made
in their
like
lane.
running shoes for ultra runners for like a decade before. I don't know. One day my dad just popped out wearing Hokas at the grocery store, but like that took a decade of Hoka like being obsessed with
He was at
trail runners.
Erewhon in LA.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And talk to me about price. I mean, it's an expensive product. It is 1000% worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely on the pricier side. So right now it's $108 for a month subscription, and that gets you like 24 or 30 servings, depending on if you do like this individual or the bulk serve. So it's not cheap. It's like maybe a little bit more expensive than a athletic greens or something like that. It's not out of the question. Like, it's less than maybe what people pay for coffee in a month, like, $4-ish a day. But it's not as cheap as I would like it to be, and not as cheap as it needs to be in order to be like globally accessible. I want to be careful not to like apologize too much for it, because I also want to make sure I'm giving advice to like other entrepreneurs that like when you're starting something out new, I think it is important to charge a fair price. Like there's a lot of investment that goes upfront into creating anything, and I encourage entrepreneurs to charge a fair price for what it is, and then bring it down over time. But like you need to start with something that makes the endeavor self-sustaining. Like if you're investing a lot to get the first 100,000 units out into the world, the first $1 million out into the world, like make sure that you're cultivating an actual business that can, our whole point is like we hire great people, and we're continuing to work on it. And part of that is bring up the scale and bring down the cost with time. But you can only do that if you have like a successful machine like working on its own already. And if your product is awesome, then you should be able to find your first like 1,000, 10,000 super fans who are, willing to pay an extra like $1 or $2 compared to what it'll be when you get to scale. But
no, that totally makes sense. And when you think about that price of, $105, $108 a month, it's like, would you not spend less than $1,300 in a year for literal peak mental and physical performance? You'll go to Starbucks and spend $5.50 at a minimum on a cup of coffee, if not $6, $7, $8 on a frappuccino. So I respect the price, and I respect that advice that you're giving entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and I mean, it always speaks to me to that side of health, where it's like when you wear a mask and you don't get sick, it's hard to see, right? When you take something and you're healthier, you don't have to go to the ER. You don't have, the downstream effects of like hypertension and diabetes and all the things that we're so plagued with in this country. And you're solving before the problem. It's hard for people to what's the word I'm looking for? Tangibly.
Yeah. It's like what? Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like if you could put a price on it, like what's a good night sleep worth? Like if you only slept like 4 hours last night, and someone said, "Hey, like I have a magic wand and I can like make you feel like you slept 9 hours," like what would you pay? I don't have a correct answer or not. Is that more of an open question? Is that worth $5? Is that worth $50? Is that worth $300? Is it worth $3,000? Like kind of depends on what your job is and what your like opportunity cost is and the quality of the decisions. But like if you're a real estate agent and you're showing homes all day and you sell a house a week or something, it's like that 4 hours of sleep is very expensive. And I think more and more people are putting that like health to dollars equation to use in their head. Like what's a good night's sleep? What's exercise? What's, what is it worth it to me? Just like feel really good.
Well, Michael, I think that you have been completely mismarketing your product, because you've been marketing it to, triathletes, Tour de France riders. I heard 60% of the Peloton is using it, Olympians. But I've got this whole market for you that's wide open. I actually lead this society of type A bitches.
Yes.
Because when I first started taking Ketone IQ, before I felt all the physical enhancements, the quicker recovery, quicker reaction time, the appetite suppression, I felt the cognitive effects, which for me were like going from a type A to like a type B minus, like a little calmer,
I can attest
a little
to
more
that.
like Kristen, like a little wiser, happier.
It's like a sharp chill.
Yeah, exactly. Like a better, calmer version of myself. So like my disposition changes on Ketone IQ. So have you heard this before? And would you consider changing the tagline from fuel fantastic to like fuel less bitch?
That's a good one. That's can we use that?
Think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
sneak that into a certain
Royalty-free.
demographic of Facebook ads.
Yeah. It's
Totally.
really interesting, right? Because like I think that's what's most fun to me about the product is that if you like had a map of all of the different kind of psychological states that you could get to, like different substances do different things. Caffeine takes you somewhere, alcohol takes you somewhere, cannabis takes you somewhere. Like everything, every different like compound takes you somewhere. And what's cool about Ketone IQ is it takes you somewhere unique. It's not quite caffeine. It's not quite like anything else. And it's not every day that something like that happens. I feel like that's really fun to me as an entrepreneur, because a big part of what we have to, our job is like painting the picture of what it feels like. And it's things like the way that we design the packaging. We call this like our Maui sunrise look, and like how do we make it look like what it feels like, and how do we put that into all of the surface area that a brand has, right? Like our packaging, our billboards, our social media content, our emails. Like how do you put that out there? How do you work with partners that embody that same energy? Like, so it's definitely an interesting challenge. Like how do you describe it? We've used other words like runner's high in a bottle, or I've had people say this feels like low dose Adderall. This is my first time hearing the
Flow state.
fuel less
People talk a
bitch,
lot
but
about
I think that's
flow.
that's now on the list. Like that's a good one. Flow state we've used before. Yes, that is one we've used
I like
before.
it.
But yeah, I think it's fun
Calm
to
the
see
F
like
down.
yeah.
So a lot
yeah,
of what
That's ready for you.
So I was just going to ask, a lot of what Ketone IQ talks about is metabolism and how metabolically unhealthy Americans are. On your website, you say 88% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. And when I think of metabolism, I think of like food burning off, losing weight. But you're obviously putting this in the bodies of Tour de France runners who, need calories. So can you talk to us a little bit about how metabolism relates to ketone and why it's so important?
Yeah, that's a great question. Metabolism is really the key to everything going on in our body, because if we remember like high school science class, like metabolism, your mitochondria are the power plant of your cells. Yes, and that you're constantly doing metabolism, and you're turning these substrates into usable cellular energy. So you're turning like the sugars and the fats and the proteins, everything that you've eaten, all those macronutrients, you're turning those into usable cellular energy. And metabolism also includes like the cleanup processes around it. So you're making energy, and you're like cleaning up the byproducts and waste of your body doing things. And your body's always doing metabolism. So if you're going for a run, if you're lifting weights, if you're doing anything athletic, you're doing metabolism. If you're sitting and thinking really hard, you're doing metabolism in your neurons and your brain. If you're sleeping, if you're resting, your body's doing metabolism to repair and rebuild your muscles and your brain and everything. So like when you're resting, you're doing metabolism. You're always doing metabolism. It's this ongoing process. And it then becomes really important, like what are you fueling your metabolism with? Like there's better or worse fuels. It's like if you have a campfire, you can burn different things in that campfire. And when it comes to metabolism, some things just work a lot better than other things. Like a lot of people, there's probably too much sugar in the American diet, and that it has a lot of problems where like sugar is interesting.
Oh my God, I heard it's like 52 pounds, or maybe it used to be 52 pounds and now it's like 500 pounds. Like it's insane the stuff they sneak sugar into.
It's wild.
And how much
there's
of
so
it
much,
we're consuming.
there's so much sugar inside of everything. And then a big part of the related problem is that when you eat sugar in nature, like if you eat sugar inside of a fruit, there's fiber in the fruit. There's like other mass in the fruit that helps to slow down the uptake of that sugar. You can think about it. It's like the fibers like brakes. It's like breaking the speed of uptake of that sugar. So if you're eating, there's a big difference between
lasts longer.
Yeah, so that's why there's a big difference between eating like a sweet potato versus eating like straight table sugar. It's like you might have the same amount of carbohydrates, but like the area under the total amount that is going to your body might be the same, but one is like going over 4 hours, the other is going spiking like 20 minutes. It's not quite the same. And what you really want to avoid is those big spikes of like big spike of blood sugar, and then your body is scrambling to deal with that. You release a lot of insulin. Like whenever you have high blood sugar, your body releases insulin to process that sugar, and then when you spike your insulin too much over time, the insulin stops working. You get insulin resistance, and that's like probably one of the worst things going on. When we talk about like people are metabolically unhealthy, that's probably one of the worst things, because basically like disrupts your body's ability to do metabolism everywhere. And that, we're doing metabolism everywhere. So you're doing it in your brain, you're doing it in your heart, you're doing it in your lungs, you're doing it in your muscles, you're doing metabolism everywhere. So if your body stops being able to do metabolism, then you get diabetes, you get Alzheimer's, cognitive decline, you get cardiovascular disease. That like if your body can't do metabolism well anymore, it's pretty like fundamental. It's like if your phone is running out of batteries, you can't like call an Uber or use Instagram or make a phone call or it's like your battery is like really fundamental to all the things that you're trying to do. And what makes ketones really interesting is that they are very metabolically clean, that they turn into cellular energy. They don't spike insulin. They don't create a lot of oxidative stress, which is basically one of the byproducts of metabolism that basically a lot of what happens as we're aging is we're just, you do a lot of metabolism. It's like any engine that you're running for years and years is going to naturally decay over time just by like running through the RPMs but there's like a better or worse way to run an engine, and ketones don't create the same amount of oxidative stress. They're more efficient. So they're a nice alternative. Basically, like the long story short, like we got started on this because it was a super fuel for special operators and elite athletes. But what's interesting for regular people is that A, it feels really good, and B, it's not spiking your insulin and your sugar levels and your caffeine levels. It's just like a form of fuel that gets you where you can feel good from it, and you're not having to like trade off health points for feeling energized from it.
Yeah. So basically, it's not only what we talked about with the mental clarity, but it's good for someone who's trying to lose weight, and it's good for someone who needs to sustain their energy. Like I said, like a bike rider. It's just making your body more efficient in its use of the inputs that you also put in, right?
Yeah,
Is that correct?
That's a really good way to say it.
I'm a big believer that most everything, whether it's a partnership, person, or product, has a downside. Nothing's perfect. No one's perfect, right? So are there any downsides to what I would call like steady ketone IQ usage, putting your body into this like somewhat constant state of ketosis? I try not to take it every single day, mainly because of the price. But I cherish it's precious. Michael, I cherish it. Like I like literally sip on it. I love my day I take ketone. But then when I play a tournament, right, it's this 10-hour day, just like cycling, feels like it's never going to end. So I try and take one every 4 to 5 hours. But I get wary of like manipulating my body into, even if it's like a natural state of ketosis, I just get wary of that manipulation. So I know I just combined a lot of different elements in that question, but can you speak to that?
Yeah, look, I think that's a really legitimate concern to have on anything that you're doing. Like, we shouldn't necessarily be having coffee every day or some, the newest, latest adaptogen. Like, should you just go from 0 to having lion's mane every single day? Should you go from 0 to having creatine every single day? I think it's natural, like cycle things on and off and kind of like dip a toe in, see if you feel good, get in the water, get out of the water, get in the water, and see how you're feeling. I'm, big fan of doing regular blood work and just checking in with yourself on a subjective level of how you feel and seeing what's working and not working. So I think it's a super legitimate, rational response. Like, try things out, see what it works. Don't just jump into the deep end on anything. And then, in general, Ketone IQ is a supplement. It's not supposed to be like everything that someone has in a day by any shot. It's like, there's some small amount of calories inside of it, and it's meant to kind of stack on top of what you're doing already, but it's by no means meant to replace meals or replace other nutrition. If anything, we say have it on top of what you're already eating and consuming, and get some added effect out of it. But we're not trying to swap out like, oh, have this instead of lunch or something like that.
Right.
So
right.
you're kind of dodging the question. Like, what's the
downside?
downside? Come
Well,
on.
so we do say,
Can
like,
I
we do
OD?
say, it's fine. The limit, we say, like, you don't have more than 3.5 a day. That's like the
Okay.
kind of upper limit. And
That's why you have a lid on it for that half, right? So you got that leftover half. You can close it back up, save it.
exactly.
So why not more than 3.5? What if I had 7?
Then I don't
I would
know.
become president of the United States.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
God,
would
please
cure.
no.
I would
IQ
cure the Ukraine-Russian war. Like,
you'd be too based, too
Too
much.
queued up.
Yeah. I think part of it's like, it's just with anything that's kind of new is like having it out there for a while and seeing how people respond to it, and just seeing, like, yeah, do people have issues with it, any like serious adverse events, and then as it's like safe on market, you generally expand that over time. And yeah, we just started like as we brought it to market with the FDA, like they're just generally considered safe to have up to 3.5 a day, and that it's not like you turn into a pumpkin.
so
if you
I'm
have
your guinea
4
pig.
or 5. Like I've certainly had more personally, but again, like what we say on the packaging is 3.5. I think, look, if you're more active and you're burning off and you're using more energy, then it's just like a different equation. If you're sitting around on your couch, then then you're using a lot less energy. You're not burning as much. So I think there's a lot of other factors. Like if you're out there actually like doing an Ironman and burning 5,000 calories, then I think you can be a little bit more lenient on the inputs into your body, because you're just burning it off right away. And yeah, as opposed to if you're just like sitting around all day, then you don't want to have like excess amount of anything. But yeah, look, you don't want to be you don't want to just like drink ketones all day every day. So I want to make sure I'm not avoiding the question. Like you don't want to just be like basing your diet on it or something. Like you want to be having it as a supplement on top of your like other things that you're doing. It has this a little bit of an appetite control effect. Like sometimes when people have it, they feel less hungry, which is a plus and a minus, because it's like, yeah, you should like, unless you're like actively trying to lose weight. Like I think for a lot of athletes, it's almost the opposite problem of like you should be trying to eat more to like recover.
I'm trying to
well.
gain. Yeah. I'm trying to gain.
Trying to bulk up here. Yeah. So like in that case, like
You can't see. There's like baby muscles right here.
It's just a sweatshirt. It's because of double X sweatshirt.
Yeah, it's hiding.
But we can tell. We know. But yeah, if you're trying to like get above a certain calorie amount, then it can be helpful. Then in that way, like the appetite control thing can be kind of counterproductive, and you want to like make sure you're tracking your calories into like bottoms up sense. Like, oh man, I need to make sure that I get at least like 3,000 calories today.
Yeah. So downsides to summarize are you could lose weight because your appetite is suppressed, and you could run for office and win, and nobody wants that level of stress. So I think that's clear to me. Michael, I know your time is precious, so I have one more question for you, and then Kristen, if you have any questions. I know you talked about like, look, we're a supplement to be added to your existing stack, but I want to give you a different business idea, which I think you kind of touched on already. I'm a big follower of Dave Asprey.
Jill, are you trying to get a job at HVMN?
No. I'm playing pro pickleball. No. Okay, so I'm a huge Dave Asprey follower. He takes 200 pills a day. He wants to live to 180. So like, I take my collagen, I take my protein powder. I just ordered a colostrum. I take creatine. I just started Take Thesis. Pretty cool. Have you heard of Take Thesis?
Yeah, I know the founders there, Dan and
all right. So I've got like my nighttime routine with my magnesium, my GABA, my L-theanine. I got my multivitamins. No, like, come on, just put stuff into my Ketone IQ so I can take like 30% less stuff. Like, come on, give me a stack that can replace what I'm already doing. That would be super interesting to me as a consumer, because I'm not giving up my ketone. I'm not. But maybe I'd give up another product. But my ketone, no way. That's the foundational element of my supplements. So that's my business idea for you. What do you think of that?
I think it's a great idea. And I think that I would say yes, and it would be great to personalize it to each person. Because I think as soon as you start trying to give you the perfect amount of 5 different, 10 different supplements, then like doing just the right amount like of one supplement is hard for you, because the next person over is going to need twice as much or half as much based on their body size and activity levels and genotype, phenotype. Like they're going to need to just on one, if you just have one supplement, one dimension, people are going to want to vary it. And so as soon as you start saying, okay, we're going to do like 10 different ones, it's like, how do you get the right amount of like omega-3 and ketones and vitamin D and like it becomes this like multivariate thing. And I think the only way there is to like truly personalize it, which I think a lot of people have like tried to do. Like it's definitely, I don't think the first time this has ever come up, but it's definitely, I feel like that's the holy grail inside of the like wellness supplements health space, is like the magic bean that you eat that like you only need one a day and it does everything for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I think it's going to happen. I think there's like a couple of things. I think you need the feedback loop, because I think you need to know like kind of how someone's biomarker, like blood biomarkers are doing. If you really want to do this really well, it's like how is someone subjectively feeling and how are their blood biomarkers, and then like little feedback loops on like, okay, well, what if we adjust the amount of magnesium that you have, and does that affect your sleep score, and does that affect other things? I think the technologies like it's one of those things where it's like the technologies felt like it's right around the corner for like a while, but like we're not quite there yet.
Like self-driving cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Next year for sure.
Feedback
is so critical. I talk about this all the time in my golf instruction, that like people often are mislabeling what causes and what's affected, and having that ability to be like, okay, I took my ketone, I felt like this. Would you suggest on a newbie that they take 2 a day the first day, just 1? Like, what's your like starter instructions for our new?
Yeah, I would just start with 1 and see how you feel, and then like dose up or down from there. At the store, you can buy a single shot. On our website, we don't, just because shipping gets complicated and expensive and dumb for everyone.
Which stores should people be looking for? Is this in most Sprouts or?
Yeah, we're in all Sprouts. We're in
Whole Foods.
All of the Equinox locations. We're in Sun Life Organics. We're in Lazy Acres and Gelson's and Wegmans and
Gelson's.
There you go.
Okay,
Erewhon.
Right.
Erewhon, right?
Gotta be an Erewhon.
We're working on Erewhon. Not in there just yet.
Maybe by the time this comes out in May, we'll be there.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Erewhon is like this mecca of sort of yuppie LA health conscious grocery stores. It's an anagram of anywhere. Wait, Erewhon? Yeah, anywhere.
Nowhere or anywhere.
Michael, where do you live?
Nowhere.
I live in Silver Lake, Los Angeles. It's like the.
There you go.
There we
right
go.
in the
There's definitely an
heartland
Erewhon here.
of Erewhon.
We're in Indian Wells. I'm always in LA for pickleball. If you're ever in the desert, hit us up and we will take ketones and play pickleball, Michael.
I would love that. That sounds awesome.
But truly, thank you for creating this product and for everything that you're doing. It's literally changing lives, and I don't mean that tongue in cheek.
Yeah, at least 2 right here. So
Thanks.
We are excited to be a part of the ride.
I'm really excited to hear that. Glad to be fueling greatness over there, and yeah, excited to keep collaborating on different stuff together.
I'll hook up with your team on changing the name to Fuel Less Bitch.
Yes, yeah.
Tagline. And don't forget, when people ask you about pickleball, you say pickleball is joy. And you heard it here first.
All right.
So we hope you enjoyed that interview. That was Michael Brandt, founder of HVMN, now Ketone IQ. Make sure to check out ketone.com/JillyB for 30% off your first subscription. That is an awesome discount of 30%. And hopefully that was interesting for you, more than just the product, but we covered a lot of interesting science, I think. And ketones
business.
are really the key to life.
Oh my gosh,
Did I tell you
that's
this?
great. That should be the slogan. Ketones, the key to life.
Ketones.
I love that, Kristen. You're on fire today.
I have a biohacking drinking game, which of course means that
You sip on ketones?
you sip on colostrum ketones or Perhaps.
I laughed so hard it hurt my sty.
Oh no. This is the drinking game. Every time someone says mitochondria, you have to drink.
Gosh, is that just the word, the buzzword right now? Mito.
Between mitochondria and
NAD.
metabolism, the M's. What'd you say? NED?
NAD. We'll talk about that in the next.
Yes.
Yeah, this is just part 1. So next week we will be doing part 2, our next 5 favorite supplements and biohacks.
Part 2 too, aka part 4.
AK part 4. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
If you guys are in the car and you're driving, you can't look. We will post, of course, all of the items on the list in the description and at jillybpickleball.com under the discounts tab. So check that out at jillybpickleball.com or jillianbraverman.com on the discounts tab. So did you want to do a Dear Jilly B?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got this awesome Dear Jilly B. Dear Jilly B, you've talked a lot on your podcast about practicing a third at your level, a third below your level, and a third above your level. But what does that really mean? Break that down. And so I think the question from this person, who may or may not be related to me, is in relation to when she's playing a third below her level, what should she be practicing on? Because it's really easy to win. So can you win though without hitting it hard?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
I came off
give
the
yourself a little bit of a handicap. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I came off the court the other day and I had been playing with some people who were well below my level. So you have a blend, I think, of protecting your partner. I think it's good practice to see how much court you can cover and still recover to not lose points while they hit behind you. And knowing that you can overpower your opponents trying to win without using power.
Exactly. Or
but craftiness, shot selection, touch.
Working on shots maybe you wouldn't normally work on, like lobs, volley lobs, maybe dinking somewhere you wouldn't normally be as comfortable dinking.
I even sometimes will just throw one up just to practice defense.
Nice. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's some next level stuff.
Maybe that's a sign that I'm playing too far above that level to be 1/3.
So now let's go in the opposite direction. What should you be focusing on then when you're a third above your level? So it's almost the opposite. Don't try the lob. Don't try dinking to a location
Raise
you're
the
not
floor.
comfortable. Yeah. What can we do to shore up your floor? There is this total misconception that when you play with better players, you have to be something other than yourself. You've got to pull out all of a sudden a deeper return, a bigger serve, a more precise third shot drop. It's none of those things. Shore up your fundamentals. Dumb it down to I'm getting every single ball over the net. But do not feel panicked like you have to pull the trigger sooner. You have to pull out this crazy one-handed backhand flick from your shoelaces. That's not what's expected of you, and that's not going to earn the respect of the third above your level players.
Totally. No, I think that's really, really good. It reminds me of something that we'll touch on with Scott, right? The simplicity factor.
I have a lot of Scots in my life right now.
Oh, that's true. There are a lot of Scots. A lot of Scots in pickleball. A lot of Scots in our pickleball life.
Yes. We will definitely talk about that next week.
But
what I learned in my lesson with Scott.
Yeah, that idea of what's the most simplest shot I could hit right here, not the most complicated.
Exactly. All right, Joy Riders, don't forget it. You know what we're about to say. Pickleball is joy.
Don't let anyone tell you differently.
We out.
This Pickleball Life is a Tomahawk production, 100% organic, self-made, and homegrown. Music by K-Dubs, editing by K-Dubs and Jilly B. Check out pbgods.com and use code PBLifers for 10% off your next order. Do you have a question for Jilly B? Email us at thispblife@gmail.com to be included in future episodes. Don't forget to click subscribe.
This Pickleball Life.